We're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Colin Krawchuk, director of The Jester.
Hello.
Hello. So it's very cool. The Jester has a limited release tomorrow,
That's right.
theatrically. I got to see it on the small screen, but there's no better way to see a movie, especially a horror movie, on the big screen with an audience.
Yes, I just watched it on the big screen last night. Actually, we had a little Orlando premiere for friends and family, and that was a lot of fun. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so what's that? What was that? I know that's with friends and family, so it'll be different with people who you don't know. But what was that experience like?
I mean, it's probably the best reviews that you're gonna get for a movie that you made. Is your mom and dad come up to you afterwards and they say, "Great job." So
Yeah.
it was all very positive and very heartwarming. So good way to start the release of this movie, I think.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, it's an interesting, background how the movie became a feature. You had short film, and then sequels, and then now the feature. If you'd like to give people like the quick story there.
Yeah, the quick story is we were making horror short films kind of every year around October and wanted the gesture to be different from anything we had made prior to that. We made it. It was a short film that we liked, but it ended up becoming like gaining a lot more traction than we could have ever anticipated. And then I think we like roped ourselves into Jester Mania by just making a sequel the next year, and then that was all anybody ever wanted to see from us. So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
I watch, cause if people don't know the Jester, the short is all three, I believe, are all on your YouTube.
Yep.
And so I read that it made the first was made for $500, and it looks great. I'm not just saying that because you're here; it looks awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so you said everyone wanted more of these. So at the time, did you ever think eventually I would like to make this into a feature? Or when did the idea come around? Like, let's actually make this a feature film.
Well, it was difficult to not talk about it because it was so many people said it. We'd love to see this like as a Netflix thing or whatever. Just people in the comments, and we would ask each other that like, what would a Jester feature be like? But we would always end with, it would never work. Like, you could never make a whole feature based on the Jester. It just, what would it even be about? Unless it's a kind of an anthology thing similar to Trick or Treat, but Trick or Treat already exists. So why would we want to do that? And then the right person saw the Jester and asked, "Do you want to make this a feature?" And when you get that phone call, you say, "Yes, I do." So so it was a challenge. I said I want to take a shot at writing it myself, and having never written a feature before. And Mike and I came up with the story, the original story that we came up with. We had 2 weeks to write a treatment, and we spent the first 7 days coming up with a more like generic, this is what we think people are expecting of us Jester feature, where it was a lot of like about the Jester and about lore and about rules and Halloween and things like that. And then after about 7 days, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, this kind of sucks, right? Like this story is not interesting. This story is like derivative, and I don't care about anybody in the movie. So we spent the next 7 days like committing to like, I want to care about these characters. And I personally like leaving the Jester as more of a mysterious ingredient than making him like the sole focus, and let's really explore his backstory. I don't think people say they want that, but I don't think they really do.
Yeah, I mean, historically, usually, I mean, there are exceptions, but usually when they go into the back history of a character that doesn't really have one in the original ones, it's almost always a disappointment.
Right, exactly. It's like when you find out the secret to a magic trick. It's
Right.
it's like, man, I know it's so simple, but like, what is it? And then when you finally learn what it is, you go, oh, all right, that's what that is.
Yeah,
It was a little underwhelming.
it's kind of fun for everyone to have their own idea of what he is, and at the end of the day,
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
necessarily important what how he became what he is or what he is exactly.
Yeah. I love hearing everybody's different versions and interpretations. And if I were to answer the question of answer any of those questions that people had about it, I'd ruin that. You take that away from everybody. So let's leave them a mystery.
So the Jester himself, he's cool looking, so that's kind of fun, and it takes place in Halloween. But there's a lot of dark elements in the movie, dark themes, about suicide and guilt, and are any of those things like personal to you? Is there like a story there?
I think there is, because there are a lot of very sensitive things that are touched on, subject matter in the movie. And I think a lot of them are sensitive to a lot of people, not just me. But I definitely have a lot of my own personal things wrapped up in some of the things that, Emma is forced to listen to in the movie are things that you recognize in yourself about. Sometimes you have trouble with self-worth and things like that. And sometimes the worst possible thing that you could ever hear is that you don't matter to anybody. And that is what Mike and I find frightening, is existential things like that, rather than a ghoulie jumping out of a closet. It's maybe I don't matter. My life is meaningless. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
he
yeah,
says
and
up at night.
as you said, not every people aren't going to relate to a ghost Jester or whatever. They might find it creepy, but you can relate to guilt and the idea of like, what is my purpose here, or do I have a
Right. Yeah.
purpose?
What do I mean to everybody in my life?
Yeah, and the Jester really becomes, not to give away the movie, but a really dark character outside of just killing people or whatever. But because he feeds on people's on their guilt and like what the ghosts of their past and things like that.
Yeah, he. I think people love an antagonist that loves being an antagonist. Somebody who, like the Jester, gets a lot of pleasure out of what he does. He doesn't even need an audience a lot of the time. He's doing it for his own enjoyment. And he, in this film, is able to find kind of the thing that bothers you about you the most and pull on that. And that's, when he plays his game with Emma, that's what he's doing, is he's forcing her into confronting the ugliest parts of what she thinks about herself and about her own life.
Now, when you guys made this short originally, did you put it on YouTube right away, or did you guys have a festival run?
Oh no, we never had really the money for festivals at the time. I know festivals vary in
Right.
admission fees and things like that, but we were just putting things up on YouTube and trying to find an audience that way, and still kind of learning uh, how to distribute our own stuff.
Well, it's
So
interesting because I go to a lot of festivals, and I know a lot of my filmmaker friends. They have the shorts at festivals, and then a lot of the problems with that is they don't know what to do with them after. It's almost like a calling card of what I can do, and maybe I'll hope to make a feature. But you went a different route. You put it out there, and then it found its own audience.
yeah, and that was something that we just had to, because Mike and I went to film school together, and we made the joke that the best thing we got out of film school was meeting each other, and we're still paying off that friendship. But that was something that was kind of liberating. Once you graduate film school, you have that, like, all right, what is my purpose? Like, how do I take this and use it? Like, and you see a lot of people, in the local filmmaking community, jumping to corporate stuff or wedding videography or things like that. And we just went into, what do we want to do? Like, what do we want to do the most? We want to do narrative shorts, and we don't know what that means. We don't know what is going to happen, but if we don't do what we are the most passionate about, how do we sustain that? So we wrote, and I directed our first short film, Echo, and it, like, being there on set, it was just in the woods, but making something and like nobody told us to do it. You know, it was one of those things where it's like, we're doing this. Like, we got everybody here. We wrote it. We're making it. We're going to put it out. It was a liberating kind of feeling, like nobody's in charge but us for this. And just having the faith that if we care enough about something, somebody else will too. And it will find an audience. Somebody somewhere will find this and it'll be what they're looking for.
I just want to ask you, because you mentioned film school, and you think maybe the best part of film school is you and Michael like meeting.
Yeah.
What? Because I have a lot of friends and just people I've had on the show, and the majority didn't go to film school, and some people who don't have the best things to say about it. So, what are the pluses and the minuses of film school?
Well, I think the film school, just like with anything really, is I'm not saying don't go to film school. I'm just saying you get out of film school what you put into it. So if you really want to learn, you can go to film school. You can meet a lot of great like-minded people. You can meet a lot of great instructors who are hopefully going to have a lot more experience than you, and you can pull from that. But if you are that passionate about filmmaking and you are hungry for knowledge and information, you don't have to go. The information is out there and the people are out there, and you can find it if you look hard enough. I mean, and nowadays you don't even have to look that hard. It just takes, you'll never learn more if you don't do it. You can go to film school, you can sit in class all the time, but until you go out and we learned a lot from making Echo, and I learned a lot from making the Jester feature film that I wouldn't have learned if more than I would have learned if we just kept making short films. Mm-hmm. And every project you try to learn something else.
Along those lines, when there was a dread that comes to you to like, we want to make this feature, and you made these short films, but the idea of making a feature is much bigger, it's more budget, it's more time, and just going into that, like, I assume you're both excited. Both of you guys would be excited, but also, it would be nerve-wracking, I assume.
Oh yeah, that's an understatement. Nerve-wracking. It's dread is a good description. It is, I would say, maybe the most stressful circumstance I've ever been in. But like sustained stress, and it comes with I wouldn't say crippling, because I ended up with a movie at the end, but a significant amount of imposter syndrome. But you just have to trust yourself, and if you don't believe that you can do it, you're not going to cross the finish line. So I do it to not let everybody else down, including myself. When you get the phone call that every YouTube filmmaker wants to get, where somebody is like, I'm a real guy and I want to get you to make a movie. What do you say? And when you get that phone call, you're like, when you think of it in your head, you're like, man, that will never come, but I wish that it did. And then when it does come, you're like the most terrified that you've ever been. And I knew in that moment that if I didn't say yes, I would always regret it, and I would be mad at myself for that. So I think that applies to every aspect of the production process. Is you have to figure this out, and you have to just not let yourself down first. You got to be proud of yourself. So be proud of yourself before anyone else can be proud of you.
And it wasn't that long ago, the idea of something be on YouTube, people would say that's just on YouTube, as like it doesn't necessarily, matter. But Talk to Me came from people on YouTube, and now you have a movie out. So YouTube is a platform that everyone can be on, but, things can come from that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only been, the last maybe less than 20 years too. And before that, like if you were growing up in the 90s or the 80s and you wanted to be a filmmaker, you had to get a lot more creative with how you shot it, and then even more creative with how you got eyes on it and distributed it. There were a lot less options for that back then. And now anybody can shoot anything, even with a camera on your phone, and your venue for distributing it is on the internet, and everybody can see what you've made. Some things maybe not everybody should see. It is incredible the way the landscape has changed over the years and the opportunities that it's offered. Like the Rocka guys with Talk to Me, and then David F. Sandberg with Lights Out. It's like it does happen, and when it does happen, you have to be ready for the opportunity as much as you can be.
By the way, Dean here in the chat says he can relate to what you're talking about earlier about do you matter and things. So it's nice that people get something out of your movie.
Yeah, that's when you write something like this feature based off of those kinds of short films, it's like this is different than the shorts, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool that we went a different direction than people might be expecting, but you're always worried if are people gonna prefer something else, or that we had done something else.
Yeah, a short film in nature usually, I don't want to say like a punchline, but it kind of is. A short film in nature, it has like something at the end that kind of hits you. So I've seen features made off shorts that just kind of do that in an hour and a half, and that doesn't work. You can't just have 90-minute build up to something pops at you or something. So I do think it's a hard thing a lot of times to expand a short film that wasn't intended originally to become a feature film.
Yeah, and that was a big concern of ours, having never written a feature film before, was how do we get this to not feel like a 90-minute short film? And that's the first draft of the script was 60 pages. It was like that's what we did. We wrote a long short film. So yeah, that was something that we were very conscious of, and really at the end of the day, you have to commit and tell yourself, like, hopefully if this story connects with even one person watching, then we've done our job. So thank you, Dean.
Yeah.
You validated us.
Yeah. Jamie Hill's also in the chat, who's for the voice of Skinamarink, the voice of Mom in Skinamarink. And so another movie that kind of came out of nowhere and became really well. So I should mention Mike Sheffield. You mentioned Mike Sheffield is your writing partner, and he's also the Jester.
Yes. Mike, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, you can go into Mike, and then I'll ask you a question.
Mike, yeah, we met in film school, and I'm so grateful. Mike and I, everything that I've made with him, and it was such a wonderful addition to this opportunity to not just make a feature film, but make it with my best friend. When they say, yeah, whoever played the Jester in the shorts, bring him too. Like, we like him. It's like I don't want somebody's interpretation of our Jester. I just give me the Jester, and whatever Mike Sheffield's got, that's what I want. Like, he is the Jester, and really in a way that nobody else can be. Whatever that means, that's what I want. And I'm so glad that after however many years it's been, you develop a shorthand and a trust, and he understands the character as much as me, because we both kind of developed him over the years. So when something, I can go up to him when we're shooting and say, like, this just isn't working. Like, can you do something else? And Mike will usually have an idea physically to filter the Jester through. And I'm lucky to have him.
Yeah, no, he's great, because if people don't know, if they've not watched the shorts or the feature yet, he doesn't speak, so it's all in physical acting, his movements, and I think sometimes people think anyone with a mask could do whatever these people do, but I've seen movies where it is just a guy in a mask and they're not particularly good. There is a charisma about someone who's not speaking. I think it's harder.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fun for the audience too. Is you can project a little bit onto the Jester and interpret his actions in kind of your own way. I mean, we're usually trying to indicate as much as we can what kind of process is going on maybe inside the Jester, but yeah, a lot of it still is, you know, unpredictable, and I think that's what makes the Jester a lot of fun.
How about the evolution of the mask? From it's almost it's like a front mask in the original short, and now it's a mask that covers the whole head.
Yeah, so the mask in the shorts was purchased at Walgreens for $6. So really inspiring story there about
Yeah.
how we how we developed that. But we like when you're like when you're making short films just on your own, uh, you see something like that in a Walgreens and you're like, I want to use it. Like what it just looks really cool, and trying to, make something around just the image of that mask is kind of how the first short came to be. And then moving into the feature, there are, licensing reasons why you can't use that mask from the Walgreens. And but the benefit is you get some mega awesome talented guy like Jason Baker to make you a similar Jester mask that is like way awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I heard that, like, oh yeah, it's Jason Baker. I don't know if you heard of him. He's the guy who, yeah, he made the grabber mask and the black phone. It's like, what? That's you? Oh, it's just that guy then. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guy who works with Tom Savini. Like, he's gonna make our mask. Okay, yeah, sure. And so getting to like see concept art and kind of work with an artist to develop a newer look for the Jester, a more updated look. I mean, it was all part of the like brand new experience. It was incredible.
And speaking of cool names, Eduardo Sanchez is involved as a producer. How did he become involved? Former guest on the show.
He is he is working with Cinematic and Epic, and I think it was offered to him to be executive producer on this, and luckily he liked the shorts and the treatment and the script, and had some notes on it that I liked, and yeah, it's just Ed's been kind of a supporter of the idea, which is nice. When you have the support of a guy who, when he was 20 years old, kind of changed the face of filmmaking
Yeah.
forever. Like
Yep. One of
especially
the most
kinda,
influential movies of my lifetime, I would say.
yeah, the specifically changed like independent, ultra low budget filmmaking forever.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, that guy wants to help us out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And a plug for him, his new movie Satanic Hispanics. I
Yeah,
saw it at the theater recently. Had a short run at the theater. If anyone can go see it, I would suggest to go see it. It's really fun.
yeah,
And Matt Cerrito, he's great in the movie.
yeah. Matt Servito, he was another name that you get because making a movie at this ultra low budget level, you don't know what you're going to be able to achieve. And not just on a technical level, but with like what kind of talent are we going to be able to get? You don't have a ton of options, but I think the script was sent to Matt Servito through like a mutual contact, and with no expectation, just kind of like a let me know your thoughts kind of thing. And he said, "Yeah, I love it. And I want to be John." And it's like, what? Really? Really? Like you read the whole thing? So yeah, and he shows up on set and is just the nicest, coolest guy, and loves like joking around, and is like really supportive of this level of filmmaking, because it is kind of like a little bit Wild West compared to the larger productions that are very set in because they have to be very organized, and we are just kind of figuring things out. We have to be problem solvers every day, and it's a little more chaotic. But yeah, he's kind of a goofball on set, and then you call action, and he starts saying these lines that you wrote, and you go, oh, it's like this guy's really good. This guy's like a real actor.
Right.
Yeah,
no, he's great, and I'm happy to hear that, and it doesn't surprise me because he's also he plays if people don't know, he plays the devil in this really weird show that I like on Adult Swim. So I always like that when there's people who do like mainstream stuff who also do a lot of weird stuff, and I kind of in my mind think, I think they probably enjoy doing these things because it's not necessarily they're getting paid a giant sum of money to
he he's a consistently working, like, in demand actor. He did not have to be there, and he really, I'm so thankful for people like him who just seem to like the idea enough that they contributed their time and their talent to the production.
And how about casting the sisters? So once you start expanding, the story, and so you have these two characters that are like, the center of the movie, finding the right people for them.
Yeah, all of the I was sent all the audition tapes, and sorting through. I made like a little Excel spreadsheet of like who my top picks were and who I wanted for what, and was finding a lot of like the more side characters, but the sisters are the most important people in the movie. If we don't have the right Emma and the right JC, then the movie's not going to work. And I remember, because I had to write sides for them to read. They weren't reading just from the script. They were reading some other stuff that I had written. And in JC's audition, I had written a shift in her dialogue, because that's what I wanted to see from the performance, where she goes from being this kind of like bubbly, affable person to somebody who you could tell is struggling with a little bit more underneath the surface. And Delaney White was the one who portrayed that shift the best. She just cracks that exterior that JC has, and shows that there is more going on underneath. And I was like, oh yeah, that. And then on the first day, she like, her most emotional moment in the movie was the first thing that we shot for the movie. And I asked her if she was okay with that, and she was a team player, didn't mind at all. And seeing her perform that monologue was like affecting to me, because I was like, whoa, like these are ways that I've never heard words that I've written be performed before. And then with Emma, Lelia was really the only option for me. We were down to the wire with Emma, and then I got Lelia's audition, and I was like, like, she carries the woundedness, but she kind of hides that with anger, and it was so believable to me. And Lelia gives such a heartbreaking performance in this movie. I think, like, Emma, I love Emma, and I want Emma to be okay, and Emma is really not okay for a lot of this movie.
As you started the interview, that's very important in a horror movie, because we've watched movies where it's just fun to watch the killer kill people, but if you actually care about the people, it means a lot more when something happens to them.
Yeah, and there are absolutely times where I just want to watch a horror movie with somebody last night lovingly referred to those characters as meat bags. We like to have meat bags in a movie because we like to watch Jason smash them to bits or whatever he's going to do to them. Sometimes you're in the mood for that, but for this particular project, we didn't want to do that. We want to do something a little bit different, and I'm so glad that I was able to work with those actors, because they brought, that as a writer, which I'm now trying to convince myself I am. They they dignify your words in a way you've never experienced before when you're working with pros for the first time. So, you know, my favorite scene maybe in the movie is the bar scene between the two of them. Mm-hmm. It was one of the last things we shot, and I finally got to see these two actors perform a scene together and watch these two characters interact for the first time. And we did that whole scene in one take for each take, just 7 minutes of dialogue. So I just got to sit there and, as an audience member, watch like from beginning to end that whole dialogue scene, and then feel validated, like, oh, it does feel good. Like this scene does feel like it works. It paces well, and the performances shift in tone and mood correctly. And bless you.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you with a sneeze, but yeah.
No, absolutely. Like, it was yeah, I love these actors and I love these characters.
No, they all did a great job, and I hope people check it out. So, do you know where people can see it starting tomorrow?
Starting tomorrow, the 29th of September, it's going to be at the Laemmle in LA. So where it's going to be screening. I believe it's screening for a week there, and then starting on October 3rd, it is released on VOD. So you can already pre-order it on Apple TV, but it's also going to be, you know, Amazon, iTunes, any of those other any places where you buy or rent movies, you can find this. And then November 7th is the physical release. Oh, so right. I get to have a Blu-ray of my movie on my shelf, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Well, congratulations. Hope people check it out. Great movie for Halloween. See in the theater if you can, and if you can't, video on demand's great, and the physical release is going to be very fun. And not to get ahead of ourselves, will there be any thoughts on a Jester 2?
There will definitely be thoughts. That's all I can promise.
All right, very cool. And where can people follow you to see what you're up to?
You can find me on...
Not like to your home, but, you know, online.
Right. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was about to give my full address away. You can just search my name, Colin Krawchuk, on social media. I'll pop up. There's only one of me.
All right. Fair enough. And hopefully we can talk to you again and Michael sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for doing this, and congratulations on the movie, and hope people dig it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm going to play the trailer here. Thanks, Scott. Thank you. If I have it here. Yes, I do.
There it is. Come on.
Yo, Jesse, you good?
Trick or treat.
I tried. Wait, please.
I have hated this man my entire life.
I know you know what you did to cover up for something inside your gut. It is festering, gnawing at you. I know you can feel it and try to bury it. But that rot is spreading, a decaying hole swallowing your heart.
Man, there's blood on you. Is it yours?
I never really believed in ghosts.
Gosh, I hate to break this to you, but you're dead, you know? You can't smoke.
Well, you can light him up and blow the smoke in my face!
I'm the worst kind of person. I've been cursed as poltergeist despite the word
frightener.
Flirting with death because I couldn't wait to reunite with her. Trying to get my numbers up, so I've been two-timing her. Y'all can see there's more to tell. I can feel the scorch of hell. Stalk weather can suck my dick, cause I got me a score 12. Got me creeping through the halls, see me seeping through the walls. They don't even believe in me, let's play a game of true or false. True that I'm the villain and I'ma make a killing, but what do do they say that they know way to make a living? Don't be a victim, shit, what are you, chicken? If this ain't entertaining, then I'm rearranging the kitchen. I couldn't stop it if I wanted, I gotta finish what I started. I guess there were too many skeletons in my closet, I don't stop until the screaming starts. I call it bleeding art, you don't need to see this part. Sorry pops, I'ma need your heart. Should've exercised, call a fucking exorcist. Necromancer, perfectionist with an endless list of fresh additions. Rest in piss, a dismemberment, or end this shit.
Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell. They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder. Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell. They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder.
And roll the shadow of death, me head to the blood stain on your carpet. Who do you imagine will go next in the house of a madman like Bartlett Ho? No talking to the feds or get this shotgun to the head. Leave your ass like Miss Bradley all fucked up in the bed. And between that Frank and that Dammers, they gon' need an examiner. Cause one flew over the cuckoo's nest and one flew over the banister. And I'm watching them go to pieces. Am I a psycho, a genius? It's just a case of spontaneous recurrent psychokinesis. Looking like it's a whodunit, even though I'm published, I've risen above it. And this say the wicked will be punished. Before we get a whole lot of holy water to bore me, everybody gonna know my story. Got me a score of 40. Street to street, people flee from the entity. All my enemies gun down on their knees, but they don't even budge. Slay them just for fun, but they can hold a grudge. I say save it for the judge. You're comfortably numb like bed rest. Please remove your headdress. Looking in the mirror like, aren't you dead yet? I don't give a motherfuck. See you when your number's up. They saying no fear to reap, but well, I'm here to shut them up.
Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell.
They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder.
Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell.
They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder.
Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell.
They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder.
Final farewell, you'll die as well. And you saw guys like me fried in hell.
They said she was an accessory after the fact, but it was cold-blooded murder.